So Narad is telling in very strong words, don't take the Titan's road. Don't try to push things through. Take the road of the Olympians, not of the Titans. And he is telling her, take not that stride, O growing soul of man. Don't try to possess heaven. Cast not thyself into that night of God. That night of God, we have seen earlier, is in fact something from which you cannot come back. You sort of get lost to existence. You get lost. It is only some supreme grace by which you would be saved and put back. Now, in fact, night of God is total dissolution into nothing, into the void. And therefore there is no question of coming back. That is what the Titan's path will take you to. Don't take that path. In the Isha Upanishad, I told you last time, I think, in the Isha Upanishad, we have a very powerful phrase, very powerful description. He says, Andham tamaha pravishanti ye vidyamupasate tato bhuya iva te tamo ya uvidyayam rataha. Now what he says is, I will read Shemandu's rendering of this shloka. Into a blind darkness they enter who follow the ignorance, who only go by the path of ignorance, they go into blind ignorance. Into a blind darkness, andham tamaha, andham blind, tama darkness, andham tamaha, into a blind darkness they enter who follow the ignorance. But then the Upanishad is telling something more revealing than that. One can understand, if you follow only the path of ignorance, you would get lost totally. But the Upanishad says, they as if into a greater darkness who devote themselves to knowledge alone. Now that is definitely very perplexing, very puzzling, that if you follow exclusively the path of knowledge, go only by the path of knowledge, then you get totally lost to everything. In the sense that, see, one can understand ignorance, but how with knowledge you get lost? That is the important thing. Now, he says, as if into a greater darkness who devote themselves to knowledge alone. Alone. Vidyayamrita, who are immersed in knowledge alone, who live in knowledge alone, then they get totally lost. In other words, you have not really understood the meaning, the significance, the purpose of ignorance. It is there. It has to be there for some purpose. It is there as an aspect of some possibilities. And if you exclude that, it means you have lost all those possibilities. By following the path of knowledge alone, all right, you have gone into immortality. Your soul is released, you are mukta, you are free, you are living in Sachidananda and all that thing. Immortality, you are enjoying the dreams of immortality all the while. But then what has happened to this creation here? What has happened? You have left it behind. You have not done anything for this one. You have not really attended to this aspect of the totality of creation. So if you follow the path of knowledge alone, you go and live in Sachidananda, which is very fine. In fact, that had been all along the path of the seekers of spiritual knowledge until now. And therefore the Isha Upanishad says that is as if going into a greater darkness. You have left this darkness behind as it is. And it also means that once you have stepped into the realms of Sachidananda, consciousness, being, force, knowledge, joy, happiness, bliss, your progress has as if stopped. You are not now anymore progressing then. By accepting the conditions here, all the possibilities which are present in the inconscience, in the ignorance, they have to come and develop into the fullness of spiritual possibilities. They have to develop into fullness. Therefore, you have lost all those things by living there. You see. So now this is the Upanishadic knowledge at that time. The Rishi had realized thousands of years ago already that don't follow the path of knowledge alone. He is giving equal importance, equal significance to this mortal creation. It is there for a purpose. You have to discover the truth of that mortal creation and live in its truth. That is what he says this here. So, therefore, an eternal zero is his formless self. You are lost. His spirit, the void, impersonal, absolute. Take not that stride. This, as far as this lower is concerned, the higher Isha Upanishad has already dismissed in that sense. Now, what it basically means is this statement: into a blind darkness they enter who follow the ignorance. It is straightforward, no problem with that. But the real difficulty comes with this one. They, as if into a greater darkness, who devote themselves to knowledge alone. Now, from a philosophical point of view, from the spiritual philosophy aspect, this has been a great stumbling block to understand the significance of this. By following knowledge alone, you are getting lost. That has been a great stumbling block to all the acharyas, Shankaracharya, all those who followed later on. They could not explain that thing. They had dismissed this creation as an illusion. Maya, it is false, mithya. But then they are not able to explain this line of Upanishad at all, you see. Now it is there the entire significance of the life divine comes out in its full splendor. Shivanu's life divine, it is there for the first time, so to say. He has really explained or really revealed to us the truth behind this particular aspect of it. Now, as a kind of a guess, if I have to say, it looks to me that the Rishi of this Upanishad, Isha Upanishad, who made this statement was Sri Aurobindo himself. Who else could make such a statement? Who else could make such a statement? To give full value to the material creation, who would give such a significance to it at all? And you will see that in the Upanishad, Sri Aurobindo has discussed this Upanishad from various angles on various occasions in the Upanishad. He has written a number of commentaries on this Upanishad alone, Isha Upanishad. It is a very brief Upanishad, just 19 shlokas, 38 lines. And he has discussed that thing in so many ways and all that thing. And now when you read Savitri, you really understand the meaning of that. Don't get lost to ignorance. Don't get lost to knowledge alone. You have to know the knowledge of ignorance, what it is for. That you cannot abandon. So, here, of course, Narada is making one aspect of it. Take not, he is not talking of knowledge part of it, he is talking of ignorance part of it. And the violent spirit with which you want to throw away this world and go to heaven. That he says no. Take not that stride, O growing soul of man. In other words, if you take that stride, you are going to stop your progress. You are not going to grow. You are not going to grow. Soul of man, cast not thyself into that night of God. That is the night of God. This material creation has to be given full value. You have to recognize, understand, experience its truth. The soul suffering, obviously, the suffering soul is not the key to eternity. Only, well, I mean, this is very true also. See, it's not by misery, by suffering, by crying and weeping and all that, you get the key to Brahman, to eternity, you see. It is only by a joyous, happy, adventurous way that you can reach the higher altitudes, you see. The spirit of adventure, of joy has to be there. What it also means is that the soul suffering is not eternity's key. When does the soul suffer? The soul suffers when your psychic being has not come out, is not active. The moment the psychic being comes out, then it becomes a joyous progress. And that is the real key then to eternity. The coming out of psychic being is the key to eternity. Not the suffering soul, a happy, joyous soul. You see. O mortal, bear, but ask not for the stroke. Too soon will grief and anguish find thee out. Yes, you are like that. So, they will come, they will invade you, they will attack you all the while. Don't go by that path. Too enormous is that venture for thy will. Conquering heaven by the might of the Titan, it is too enormous for you. You cannot. Even the Titans cannot do that. The Titans were finally thrown out by the Olympians, you see. All the 12 Titans. Too enormous is that venture for thy will. Only in limits can man's strength be saved. That is very true. Because we are living in a finite world, we are safe. And one example of it is after the death of a person, all his elements get dispersed to various places. And then they don't have the protection of the body. The limit which is there, physical limit which is there, he doesn't have that protection. They have left the body, and therefore all the universal forces, they can pounce upon it. The vital forces, the mental forces, they will try to grab it to see that. So in limits, you are really safe that way. We are in essence fortunate. In other words, what he says is, yes, slow progress, conscious progress, bringing out the psychic, that is what should be the process for us. Yes, yet Too enormous is that venture for thy will, only limits can man's strength be saved. Yet is infinity thy spirit's goal. Obviously, you have to accept the limit because through that you will grow. Grow towards what? Towards the spirit's goal, infinity. You have to widen. In other words, then only you are safe when you have grown fully, consciously, psychically, spiritually, then only safe. Then the other forces will not be able to attack you at all. Its bliss is there behind the world's face of tears. What a cruel sentence it is. Our world is a world of tears, you see. But behind that is a bliss there. A power is in thee that thou knowest not. You are not aware of what resides within you. It is there. Thou art a vessel of the imprisoned spark. Imprisoned spark. That is the psychic being. That is the Agni which is there burning in us constantly. Small little spark. Ansha. What the Gita says, Ansha. Ansha means small portion, dot. You see. It is that which is there, spark. Thou art a vessel of the imprisoned spark. It is imprisoned by the inconscient nature. It doesn't accept it. In other words, actually the spark itself is a catalytic agent to transform inconscience. It is accepting inconscience in order to deal with inconscience and to transform it. Otherwise, it's not possible. Thou art a vessel of the imprisoned spark. It seeks relief from time's envelopment, and while thou shuts it in, the seal is pain. So until then, there is the pain. Bliss is the goddess crown that comes at the end. God is eternal, free, unburdened by life's blind mysteries of pain. Pain is the signature of the ignorance. So ignorance means pain, and pain means ignorance. Attesting the secret God denied by life, until life finds him, pain can never end. Obviously, until you find God, it can never end. Which is very true. It's true. But that will come. Finding God, you see, the secret God, to finding the secret God is a very long process. Because at every point you have to deal with your inconscient nature. At every point. But God's help is also there all the while. Calm is self's victory, overcoming fate. So it does not make tantrums. Calm does not make tantrums. It works in its own quiet manner. And when it works in its own quiet manner, it overcomes the designs of fate. Fate cannot then intervene. So, basically, what he is saying in the case of Savitri, as long as Savitri self is calm, she is bound to overcome fate. And that is exactly what we have seen. The way Savitri was answering, who I am, what I am here for, and she really remained, that line, that whole passage of Savitri's is really full of luminous calm. She is not perturbed, she is not emotional, she is not passionate. She is not making an answer to her mother in a violent way. The answer is full of calm. And therefore, it is a sure sign of a victory over fate. Where thou shalt find at last thy road to bliss. That is assurance. Bliss is the secret stuff of all that lives. Bliss is the secret stuff of all that lives. Now, this is the Upanishadic line. Bliss is the secret stuff of all that lives. It is from Taittiriya Upanishad. And the Upanishad says, from bliss we come, in bliss we live, to bliss we go back. From bliss we come, in bliss we live, to bliss we go back. Bliss is the secret stuff of all that live. One of the Marathi Bhakta, you must have heard of his name, Tukaram. He was a poet about 300 years ago. He has really drunk bliss everywhere. He speaks everything. The whole poetry, whole utterance is full of bliss there. And he says in one of the places, on the surface of water, the waves are there. But that water itself is bliss, and those waves are also bliss. Ananda che dohi, ananda che taranga. Ananda, happiness, joy. Dohi means pond, pool, lake. On the lake of Ananda, the waves are also of bliss, of Ananda. Ananda che dohi, ananda che taranga. Taranga means wave, lahara. So, this is the experience of the realized souls. Realized soul. What it also means is that even if you experience the worldly pain, as if behind that there is a secret bliss. You are really enjoying the bliss which is there behind it. The scorpion bites you, it is eternal himself who is biting you. And the sting is bliss, you see. It is that kind of a thing, you see. Bliss is the secret stuff. In fact, later on, Savitri is going to sing a hymn of felicity, 142.1. The whole section is the hymn of felicity, of bliss. Section 142. She is telling death, Savitri, about this creation. What does she say? A secret air of pure felicity. Of pure felicity. Deep like a sapphire heaven, our spirits breathe. Our hearts and bodies feel its obscure call. Our senses grope for it and touch and lose. If this were true, the world would sing in the void. If this were not, nothing could move or live. If that bliss were not there, that felicity were not there, the world would sink into the void. Into the void, you see. It is there secretly. He says, of course, a secret air of pure felicity. So this is the hymn of this is the praise hymn of felicity, of bliss, Savitri. The whole passage is there. And in fact, later on, just we'll see a couple of lines. 142.7. There is a joy in all that meets the sense, a joy in all experience of the soul, a joy in evil and a joy in good, a joy in virtue and a joy in sin. Indifferent to the threat of karmic law, joy dares to grow upon forbidden soil. Its sap runs through the plant and flowers of pain. 142.7. Joy dares to grow upon forbidden soil. Its sap runs through the plant and flowers of pain. It thrills with the drama of fate and tragic doom. So, fate and doom also, it is happy with that. It tears its foot from sorrow and ecstasy. On danger and difficulty, whets its strength. It wallows with the reptile and the worm and lifts its head an equal of the stars. It shares the fairies' dance, dines with the gnome. It basks in the light and heat of many suns. The sun of beauty and the sun of power flatter and foster it with golden beam. It grows to the Titan and the God. So that is the expansion of joy, you see, everywhere. And she goes on like that, you see. She goes on like that, you see. Bliss is the secret stuff of all that live. Even pain and grief are garbs of world delight. The world bliss has taken on this dress, has put on this garb of pain. It hides behind thy sorrow and thy cry. Because thy strength is a part and not God's whole. Because afflicted by the little self, the consciousness forgets to be divine as it walks in the vague penumbra of the flesh and cannot bear the world's tremendous touch. Thou criest out and sayest that there is pain. Why you are calling? Why you are crying for? Because it is all pain. Why? Because you are limited. You are not grown. You are not widened yourself. You cannot bear the world's tremendous touch. You are a little self. You have remained in smallness. You are not really grown out. Therefore, it looks to you all pain. Because the strength is a part and not God's whole. Because afflicted by the little self, you live in a smallness, in your ego consciousness. The consciousness forgets to be divine. Actually, you are divine, but we have forgotten here. As it walks in the vague penumbra of the flesh, so you have taken the human body, you have accepted its conditions, mortal conditions. You are limited, you are small, and cannot bear the world's tremendous touch. Is there that touch? Thou criest out and sayest that there is pain. And then we have here indifference, pain and joy, a triple disguise, attire of the rapturous dancer in the wave. Withhold from thee the body of God's bliss. Thy spirit's strength shall make thee one with God. Thy agony shall change to ecstasy. So once you have removed that limit, thy spirit's strength shall make thee one with God. Thy agony shall change to ecstasy. Indifference deepen into infinity's scorn, and joy laugh nude on the peaks of the Absolute. Once you have removed those limits, then it is all for you here. See. Now, basically here, you are a part and not whole. You are an amsha, you are finite, you are limited, you are small. You are not grown in full consciousness. Therefore, you experience this pain. But the moment you come out of it, there is no pain at all, you see. And he also says that after all, what is pain and bliss? It is the dancer of the world. In his joyous dance, he has put on this dress on him. This is the secret stuff of that life. Pain and grief are gasps of world delight. It hides behind a sorrow and a cry. That is. What is that thing? He says and answer, no? Yeah, dances the way, rapturous dancer. He has put on this attire. Rapturous dancers. Thy spirit strength shall make thee. So, you acquire your spirit strength. Now, of course, here, he says, thy spirit. It is not, he doesn't say, the spirit strength shall make thee one with God. See the difference between that. You follow? If you remove thy spirit shall make thee one with God. That wouldn't do. It is there is something in you, your spirit. It is that which will acquire the strength of God. The individuality of the individual is fully emerging in the whole process. Thy spirit strength. It is not the spirit strength. Thy agony shall change to ecstasy. That is, of course, there. And then he says, indifference deepen into infinity's calm. What you are kind of ignoring, you are indifferent to things. It is not indifference. Means whether it is good or bad, you don't care. That is indifference. Whether it is evil or good, you don't care about that thing. Whether it is sin or falsehood or right or wrong, what you want to call it. You are kind of indifferent at the essence. It is not that. It becomes so calm, it becomes infinity's calm. It takes everything into its embrace. Indifference deepen into infinity's calm. Somebody is suffering there, you become indifferent. That is human indifference. But that indifference can be so deep that it can become infinity's calm. It sees the meaning behind that suffering, what it is there for. Don't try to help him. He has to help himself out, you see. And joy and love viewed in the peaks of the Absolute. So where, then you see joy on the peaks of the Absolute. Now, this phrase, indifference, pain and joy. Indifference, pain and joy. Sri Aurobindo has explained that thing in great detail in many of his letters and also in the Life Divine. In the Life Divine. I will read what he has said in the Life Divine about indifference, pain and joy. Sensational experience of the waking consciousness. We are living in the waking consciousness, our consciousness. What is called the Jagrata. In the yogic terminology, Jagrata. In the waking consciousness, sensational. So by our sense perceptions, we experience all these things here. Sensational experience of the waking consciousness. In our depths, we ourselves are that one. In our depths, not in the surface consciousness, not in the sensational consciousness, but in our depth. In our depths, we ourselves are that one, all consciousness, all bliss. In the depths, our superficial consciousness has only the sensational experience of pain, pleasure, indifference. Sense, taste, You like it, don't like it, fragrance, everything. That is our sensational experience, you see. It is of this surface consciousness or the waking consciousness. Our superficial consciousness has only the sensational experience of pain, pleasure, indifference. The triple experience of the waking consciousness. This indifference, pain, joy is a triple experience of the waking consciousness or the outward consciousness. Behind this is delight, impartially all to all experience. To all experience. There is delight in everything. Behind it, there is delight, impartially all experience. The triple experience is only an arrangement and result of our imperfect evolution. It is a phase of our evolution, you see, triple experience. What we have is the habit of nature. In fact, this is really a habit of nature. We are not really weeping and crying ourselves. It is nature within us who is weeping and crying all the while. Pain is a device of nature, of force, in her works meant to serve a definite transitional end. Pain is there to serve a definite transitional end. Transitional end towards upward evolution. Pain is a device, is a mechanism, is a means. It is jugupsa. He speaks of the Upanishadic terminology, jugupsa. You shrink back from something. You see fire and you cannot withdraw suddenly. That is jugupsa, you see. Shrink back. That is what we have. We have joy there, but we shrink back because of our limitation. You see, jugupsa. It is jugupsa of the Upanishad. Nervous and recoil from a dangerous situation or a harmful situation. We see that there is something dangerous, so we cannot recoil back from that, you see. The shrinking of the limited being from which is not himself. I am not this. I am a limited being, but I am shrinking back from it because I see some kind of danger there. So that is what our waking consciousness is there. And that waking consciousness has to have pain as a means, as a mechanism, as a tool for you to make progress on the path of evolution, upward evolution. See. Suffering, failure of consciousness force. When the consciousness force is not there, failure of consciousness force in us to meet the shocks of existence and a consequent shrinking and contraction. It has to be there, you see. So unless it is there, you will not really make, in other words, it is functional. Indifference, pain, joy, they are functional. Because you are living in the surface consciousness, in the outward consciousness. You are living in the Jagrata. When you go within you, then you see your wideness and you don't recoil back from these things. In other words, if you really see from the point of view of the psychic being, it identifies immediately with everything which is psychic. Its sweetness, its joy, its laughter, its happiness, immediately you see. A child meets another child, they smile, laugh, suddenly, you see, like that. Something is there in that, you see, like that. But we recoil back because we live in the surface consciousness. If the psychic is there, then that doesn't appear at all, you see. So this is what Narad is telling, don't take the dangerous path, go slowly, accept indifference, pain and joy as a triple disguise, attire of the rapturous dancer in the ways. He is on the evolutionary path. So in fact, what we have here in the Life Divine, he has put in the form of poetry here, you see, dancer. Withhold from thee the body of God's bliss. Thy spirit shall make thee one with God. Thy agony shall change to ecstasy. Indifference deepen. He's talking of indifference now here. Into infinity's calm. Pain and joy. Joy laughed nude on the peaks of the absolute. So this he won't say unless he has really experienced all those things. You see. So that is the fourth argument Narad is making in answer to the query of the queen. First he says, pain is the hammer of God, it is necessary pain. Then the sacrifice of the Supreme, Christ suffering, it is important to see. Then he is talking of hard in world redeemer's task. This is the third point he was making. The world redeemer comes here, his task is hard. Then the fourth point, what we have just seen, is don't take the Titan's path. Follow the psychic spiritual path. Now, the fifth point which he is making in answer to the various points which were raised by the queen, he is talking now of, oh mortal who complains death and fate. Now he says here now, look, this is your choice by which you have come here and you are complaining. You need not have come here at all, you see. You would have been there happy and all that kind of a thing here. You have chosen this place because you became curious of something here. You thought that it is worthwhile exploring what is here. And you are complaining now. There is a purpose. In fact, this is a very significant point which Narad is making. And Shyavendu has taken this as an occasion to what we have in great detail in the Life Divine. In the Life Divine, this particular part. Here the language is poetic language. There he is arguing for a rational mind. But here the perception is more intuitive, more immediate, more warm also, than what you have in the Life Divine. O mortal who complains of death and fate, you have been complaining about fate and death and all that. Accuse none of the harm thyself has caused. You are accusing, is this your God who has made this world? You are accusing him, but it is you who should accuse none of the harm thyself has caused. You have caused all the sin yourself. It was your choice. You need not have taken this path at all. This troubled world thou hast chosen for thy home. Thou art thyself the author of thy pain. You are the author of your pain. The authorship of pain is not with God. The authorship of pain is with us. It is because we have remained small. We have remained always on the surface consciousness, in the finite world, in ignorance. Therefore, it is we who have to accept pain. We are the author. And we have chosen that thing. Basically what it is, you did not have come here at all in this creation. Why? And then he elaborates this point. Thou art thyself the author. So the authorship of pain is you, we, not God. You see. The authorship of joy, of bliss, of ananda, that is God's. He is the author of joy. And now he elaborates what he has said in this stanza. O mortal who complains of death and fate, accuse none of the harm thyself has caused. This troubled world thou hast chosen for thy home. Thou art thyself the author of thy pain. And then he elaborates on that. Once in the immortal boundlessness of self, in the transcendent, in a vast of truth and consciousness and light, the soul looked out from its felicity. You are there in the transcendent, and you looked out from that high zone. Started serving all around, looking around, you see. Once in the immortal boundlessness of self. So, in other words, you are boundless, you are immortal, and you are looked out. You are looked out for what? For mortality, for bounds, for limits. You are looked out. You are looking for them. You are looking at them also. You are the vast of truth and consciousness and light. Basically, it means you are in Satchidananda. You are in the transcendent. Truth, Sat, Chit, light here stands for Ananda, Prakash. You see. You are there in the transcendent, in Satchidananda. See. The soul looked out from its felicity. You are happy there. Each individual soul was there. And then it felt the spirit's interminable bliss. Everywhere it saw bliss, 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 endless, 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 endless. It knew itself deathless, timeless, spaceless, one. It saw the eternal, lived in the infinite. I mean, you as a transcendental individual, you see, it is not the totality, it is not the infinite. It is the individual in the transcendent, the central being of ours, of the individual. It felt the spirit's interminable bliss. It knew itself death. Now he says it knew itself deathless. He doesn't say it knew itself immortal. He doesn't say eternal, infinite. He says deathless, timeless, spaceless. In other words, you are looking for death, you are looking for time, you are looking for space, you are looking for many, one. It saw the eternal, lived in the infinite. Then, curious of a shadow thrown by truth. This is the most beautiful line. What a sweet line. Then, curious of a shadow thrown by truth. So, you are in the transcendent and it has cast a shadow here down below in the void. And you are wondering, what is the shadow there for? Why it is there? Is there something hidden behind the shadow? It became curious of that thing. It became curious of that. It is that curiosity which dragged him down. Then, curious of a shadow thrown by truth, he strained towards some otherness of self. Shadow, because there was light, you see shadow. What is it there? Otherness. There was deathlessness, there is death. There was timelessness, there is time. That is otherness. There was bliss, there is grief, pain. It strained towards some otherness of self. It was drawn to an unknown face, peering through night. Unknown face, peering through night. So it saw somebody sitting there behind his shadow, not visible, unknown. In other words, the soul, transcendent soul, it saw the Supreme Himself behind his shadow. Unknown face behind. He saw the Supreme Himself behind his shadow. Otherwise, how can the shadow be there? Basically. He saw him there. And naturally, it feels curious. It gets attracted by that unknown face, by the Supreme Himself. If the Supreme is there behind the shadow, then who is a danger for me? Let me go and plunge. into the darkness, into the shadow. Let me see what it is then. I am safe there because the Supreme is there. He is there already. It was drawn to an unknown face, peering, it is looking up to the night. It sensed a negative infinity. Negative infinity. Now basically, all those beautiful things, Sat, Chit, Ananda, power, light, beauty, joy, happiness, etc., they are opposites. That is the negative infinity. Sat becomes Asat, Chit becomes Achitana, Ananda becomes Dukkha, Kashta, Klesha, sorrow, suffering. Negative infinity and endless. If Satchidananda is infinite, here is the counterpart of Satchidananda himself behind his shadow, spread like an infinity. In other words, if there are all the possibilities present in Satchidananda, the glorious possibilities, those possibilities are also present here behind his shadow. That is the negative infinity of everything. In fact, I got a line in Savitri, no? The inconscience is infinite. This is what we are saying. The inconscience is infinite. Because it is that which has really come down here. Now, this is the way Narada is explaining in the Puranas, in the mythological stories. The description is more picturesque. He says it is Vishnu himself who is residing in the darkness here. We have seen the pictures of Vishnu lying on a 1,000-hooded serpent, asleep. 1,000-hooded serpent, like couch, and is lying on that serpent. Now, it's a very, very vivid description of that. The Supreme Being himself has entered into the darkness, and the 1,000-hooded serpent is nothing but all his powers and energies which are coiled up on which he is sitting, on which he is sleeping. They had to wake up and come into operation. That is what the story would mean, the Puranic story, you see. 1,000-hooded serpent. Very purposeful description that we see. All the energies are there present, and he is sleeping on that. Means he is not active, you see, in that sense. You see. So here, that is the negative infinity. Now, what we call that Vishnu, the inconscient Vishnu. He is nothing but the inconscient Vishnu in that state. Inconscient Vishnu. The Purana will say Shesha. Shesha means serpent. Shesha Shahi. He is sleeping on the serpent couch. Shesha. Now what does Shesha mean? Serpent, of course. It also means the remnant, the exhausted. He has completely exhausted himself and now he is sleeping there. And he has become Shesha, void. What has remained is the void. So the word is etymologically significant of the story also, mathematically. Exhausted, fully emptied out. He has emptied himself out fully. And yet he is there. And that is the void, you see. In other words, all the divine qualities which are there in the transcendent, they have been fully absorbed and kept, so to say, under suspension. And they had to emerge now fully. Now, it is that thing which you saw from the transcendent. When you saw the shadow, you become curious of that. And then you said, let me see what it is, you see. It sends a negative infinity, a void supernal whose immense excess, imitating God. Yes, you see, all that thing which is there, he is imitating here now. And everlasting time offered a ground for nature's adverse birth, and matter's rigid and hard unconsciousness harboring the brilliance of a transient soul, harboring the brilliance of a transient source, that lights of birth and death and ignorant life. Now, transient soul, here of course it means the surface consciousness, the ego personality, the ego personality. Pardon me? Harboring the brilliance of a transient soul. It means the surface consciousness, the ego consciousness, the outward nature. Not, he says transient, not the real soul, you see. It is that which has started working up, the ego consciousness. And matter's rigid, hard unconsciousness, harboring the brilliance of a transient soul that lights up, it is that which goes on now from birth and death and ignorant life. It is that which is being carried out. And then, with that, what happened then? Mind rose, that started at nothing, that stared at nothingness. Until then, it was not aware of it. The moment mind appeared in the whole process, then it started wondering about all these things. Shunya, till figures formed of what could never be. It housed the contrary of all that is. So, everything which is opposite is there now with the arrival of mind. There was no question of evil and good before the appearance of mind. It is mind which started distinguishing between sin and virtue, good and evil, right and wrong. It is that we started seeing that thing, you see. Before that, there was no distinction, you see. A mind arose that stared at nothing till figures formed of what could never be. It housed the contrary of all that is. And not appeared as being huge, sealed cause. Now, he is, of course, in one single line, simply summarizing the whole process. What was not there until now, in that something has appeared. And not. Not is a kind of a person, so to say, an entity. It is that which has appeared. And what is that? The being. The evolution, he is basically describing the whole process of evolution. It's a dumb support in a blank infinite. Unless that Vishnu is there in the inconscience cannot grow. He appeared there as a not. Shesha. And not appeared as being huge, a single cause. It's dumb support in a blank infinite, in whose abysm spirit must disappear. That is the separation from the divine. A darkened nature lived and held the seed. See, again here now, what we have got here is the being is there and nature. Everywhere we have got being and nature, presence and power. Presence and power. The divine Purusha and the divine Shakti in various places operating variously, and not appeared as beings huge, a single cause, is a dumb support in a blank infinite. So, because he is there, in fact, that is what Mother says, no, when the separation took place and the void was seen, the horror of separation, when the Supreme saw, he plunged into it. You know what the Mother says? He plunged into the void, the Supreme. When the separation took place, he plunged into the void. He means, of course, which is Shakti, which is power. That is nature. Of spirit hidden and feigning not to be. See, he is feigning. Actually, he is there, but he is showing as if he is not there. Now, he is describing the whole process of separation. The eternal consciousness became the home of some unsouled, almighty inconscient. Consciousness has become inconscient. The story of separation, what the mother has narrated, you see, of some unsouled, almighty inconscient. One breathe no more the spirit's native air. The transcendent, now in the opposite. A stranger in the insentient universe, bliss was the incident of a mortal hour. So bliss turned into its opposite. He is giving an example of consciousness becoming inconscience. The four powers were separated. Consciousness became inconscious. Bliss became its opposite, sorrow. As a result, that as one drawn by. So what has happened then? Void. Narad is essentially telling the story of creation, separation of four powers. Drawn by the grandeur of the. So this is the grandeur of the void. That's the beautiful thing, you see. Grandeur of the void. Because it is the infinite himself is there. The Lord himself is there in that form there. And that is what is the grandeur. As one drawn by the grandeur of the void, the soul attracted lean to the abyss. Therefore, you got drawn by it, you got charmed by it, attracted by it, and you plunged from your Satchidananda state into this void, into the grandeur of void. You had chosen. This is what Narada is telling to Savitri's mother. As one drawn by the grandeur of the void, see, it means it saw the possibility. Grandeur here means it saw the possibility of something new coming out, and therefore you got attracted by it, and therefore you had come down here from the abyss. Otherwise you would have remained static, so to say, typal, fixed. There you see. The soul attracted lay to the abyss. It longed for the adventure of ignorance and the marvel and surprise of the unknown, obviously. Because you don't know what is there now behind it. The marvel and surprise of the unknown. And the endless possibility. You see, in fact, that is the whole business of his jump. Endless possibility. That is the whole purpose. That lurked in the womb of chaos and in nothing's gulf, or looked from the unfathomed eyes of chance. So it's not really a chance, it is a purposeful chance. So he is describing the fall of the soul. Basically, he is describing the fall of the soul from the transcendent, how it has jumped into this inconscient creation. Why? Why it jumped? Because it tired of its unchanging happiness. Yeah.
Now, he says here in 11:3 and then 11:2, is it the same soul, the soul which was living in the Ananda and the Satchidananda comes down here, but is it the individual soul which is in me and everybody, or is it just a soul?
Each individual soul, its counterpart is up there.
Each individual soul. So
Its counterpart is up there. That is called Jivatma.
So my soul has
Yes,
there.
yeah, that's right.
But how do you find yourself back after it's in the
No,
darkness?
so you are here because your real soul is up there also. You had taken the path of evolution for growth.
But then you see it goes into inconscious, then it goes into the soul, into the worm, into group souls of birds and fishes and whatnot.
Yeah.
This is not me.
Yes, it is. It is you because it is there you see the endless possibility.
Yeah, but you see, I mean,
You are seeing, he is seeing no endless possibility.
but you see now, look, have the beautiful soul, which is
Yeah.
living in the type world, and it comes down here, but it has numerous changes.
It does.
Changes.
It experiences.
I mean, in the soul, how can there be my soul?
Each individual soul is independent of other soul.
Yeah, but it is the bee, for example, the bee has many thousands of souls.
Yes.
I mean, living in elements.
So each soul has a purpose in the process of manifestation. Each divine quality has to emerge through him, through it.
But it's not the same.
Your quality will be different than my quality, his quality, her quality, like that.
And we come from the conscious.
Yeah. So to express your individual quality in the transcendent, in the supreme manner. The whole purpose is, it is not that all are same kind of cars. They have come out from the factory and they all look alike. Each car must have its own personality, its own character, its own possibility to express.
And this is already in the Satchitananda.
Yes, no, because it is there, it is supporting this thing here.
I still don't understand how it can be in the trees, in the sand, in the water.
Yeah, so you experience a certain joy out of it. That is, your quality has to fully emerge. You are still in the process. When you are fully grown up, your joy, quality of your joy will be different than the quality of my joy. Although all the joys are part of the divine joy.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how the soul can find itself back after it has gone.
It is
peace and the air and
it is experiencing. See, the very fact that we, for instance, at the mental level, we build up theories, we build up ideas, we quarrel, we argue. It means that we are finding joy in each expression.
yeah.
In each expression. When we are building up theories, philosophies, and all that, we are finding a joy in that. My way of expressing and enjoying is in that way. Each one is finding its own truth in that soul. That's the whole process. He says, no, endless possibility of each individual.
But Sri says there are constantly new souls being born on earth.
New soul means new quality.
Many more are coming. Many more are coming. And they're coming.
New quality is being born.
So where do they come from suddenly? There are so many.
Unless you have your counterpart up there, nothing will come down here. Nothing will come down here.
But look, also in animal, there is no soul really there. It only comes to the mind, the mental.
No, mind starts recognizing it at that point.
Yes.
But otherwise the soul is there. See, the soul is not developed. Soul is there in every bit, so to say. Even in a gem, in a stone, in a rock, in a tree. The soul of a tree, the soul of a plant, the soul of a man. See, it grows. When the psychic being fully comes forward, then your true individuality starts expressing itself. It does not express itself fully until then.
Exactly. That's my question now. Like when you have the plant kingdom. So where was my individual?
No, it's not a question of now yours. It is plants.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So it is enjoying its own life, its own existence, is expressing it, but in a very, very limited manner, because its scope, its instrumentation is small, is poor. A tree gives flower, it is expressing its own joy.
Yeah. My mother said we cannot go back into even by memory into the plant.
Well, if you develop that faculty, you can. If you develop that faculty, you can experience that. If it is necessary and you want to go, you can go back. In fact, we have seen that in one of the prayers, the mother says, no, in the evening, how she sees peace pervading everywhere, and how from the sap of a tree, the peace is rising up. She sees that the sap of the tree is rising up in that peace. So once you have identified yourself, you know that it is there, you see. And she, in her prayer, one of the prayers, no, she has identified herself with the cherry blossom. And she says that, yes, by identification with the cherry blossom, she could remove the grief of the world. She says there is it. So it is, whether it is necessary for each one or not, that one has to see. It is a freedom, choice is there. You see. But each character, each one has his own individuality. That is important, and that is the true individuality. In fact, that is what Narada is going to explain later on. Here, you see. It tired of its unchanging happiness. Well, that was what happened. You see, it was a static happiness. It turned away from immortality. You see, I mean, it is a great sacrifice because it was tired of it. It was drawn to hazard's call and dangerous charm. It has accepted the peril of the process because it did not know what it is going to do. It was all blind. It saw the shadow. Behind the shadow, he could not see anything. So it accepted the hazard. Hazard, dangerous. It yearned to the pathos of grief, the drama of pain, which it could not experience elsewhere. What is it for? Let me see what the truth behind pain. What is the truth behind grief? It wanted to see that experience. Perdition's peril, the wounded bear escape, the music of ruin and its glamour and crash. Narada is really poetic. The savor of pity and the gamble of love and passion and the ambiguous face of fate. It longed for that. We'll just take this sentence and close. A world of hard endeavor and difficult toil and battle on extinction's perilous verge. A clash of forces, a vast incertitude, the joy of creation out of nothingness. In fact, that summarizes the entire purpose of the soul plunging into darkness. Joy of creation out of nothingness. What greater joy can be there if I had to accept difficulties for that? If I had to suffer for that, how does it matter for me? How does it matter for me? Because it is joy out of nothingness, from shunya. If I am going to produce something, it's the most wonderful thing. See, I mean, when you see a tree flowering up, you feel so happy. There was no flower, as if out of nothingness the flower has suddenly come up. We feel happy. Now just imagine how happy the tree itself will be feeling. How happy the tree itself will be feeling, you see. The baby is born, the parents are immediately happy. The joy of creation out of nothingness. In fact, that is the whole purpose of your coming here. Strange meetings on the roads of ignorance and the companionship of half-known souls, all the solitary greatness and lonely foes of a separate being conquering its world. A separate being, this is what we are, limited, separate being conquering its world, guard it from its too safe eternity. It was very safe there, but it accepted the world of hard endeavor. It accepted for a purpose. A separate being conquering its world, called it from its too safe eternity. A huge descent began. Therefore, you have started coming down from the transcendent here. A giant fall, that is the fall of the soul. Why it has become? Because it saw certain possibilities there. What the spirit sees creates a truth. You are seeing something there, and therefore you are going to create a truth here. The fall is for a certain purpose. It sees something, and that truth is created. And what the soul imagines is made a world. A thought leaped from the timeless can. a thought that leaves from the timeless can become indicator of cosmic consequence and the auxiliary of the gods, a cyclic movement of eternal time. So when the thought really leaves, now he is describing one by one. See, it becomes cyclic movement of eternal time, wheel of time. It moves. Periods of cycles, seasons, basically seasons. Why seasons are there? Thus came born from a blind, tremendous choice, blind, tremendous choice. Because it did not see what was going to happen. Obviously, it could not. Blind, because it is shadow. Behind the shadow, what can you see? It is a thick shadow, blind. This great, perplexed, and discontented world, this haunt of ignorance, this home of pain. There are pitched desires tents, grief's headquarters. Here the conquest has to be there. Here the vast disguise has to be removed. The vast disguise conceals the eternal bliss. A huge descent began. You are talking about that? Yeah, I know. Because you
For what the spirit sees
yeah, becomes
creates a truth.
yeah.
It means, and after what the soul imagines is made a world.
Yeah, well,
actually,
I was going to explain that.
I mean, we are creating the world.
Yeah.
The soul come and create the world. You agree, no?
I will read it. A huge descent began, a giant fall. Okay. Now, for what the spirit sees creates a truth. And what the soul imagines is made a world. It is for a certain purpose that the plunge is taken. It sees some possibility behind the shadow. It became curious of that possibility. He says no infinite possibility there. It became curious. Because it got tired of its sameness. And therefore, if it sees some possibility, it has to become true. Because it is this possibility seen by the spirit itself. In other words, you take it at a different level. If the Supreme has created the inconscience, He has created because there is a possibility behind inconscience. It is not for the purposes of suffering, misery, and nothing. That may be a part of the process. But because he sees a possibility through the process of inconscience, he has created inconscience. He sees the truth behind inconscience, and therefore it is there. Therefore it is there. Otherwise, there is no purpose at all. In fact, it becomes meaningless. The Satchidananda will remain always Satchidananda, happy, okay, forever, forever. So what? No new possibility, no new growth. He sees a new possibility by this process of getting into the inconscience. And it is that which has to emerge. In fact, that is the whole theory of evolution. The real theory of evolution is that how to generate new possibilities by emptying yourself out. So that whatever you have is totally exhausted. When it is exhausted, when it is void, when it is shunya, then only something new can happen. Otherwise, it is not new. You have to empty out yourself fully first. Then new thing can happen. That is the possibility the Supreme sees, and therefore it is by that on a smaller scale, relative smaller scale, it is the individual also who sees that your transcendental soul is there, Jivatma is there, it sees a possibility behind the shadow, therefore it jumps into it. There is a danger, okay, so what? But there is a greater joy also of growth. That's what it means. Now, in fact, I was going to read. You're not tired, no? Okay. Now, this is important. This is straightforward. I mean, thus came born from a blind, tremendous joy, this great, perplexed, and discontented world. It's okay. That is understandable, easily seen. But now, why a huge descent began, a giant fall? What is the purpose of that? I will read something from the Life Divine. This is very important. The divine and the undivine. This is chapter in the Life Divine. Chapter 4, in the second part. The universe is a manifestation of an infinite and eternal all existence. The divine being dwells in all that is. We ourselves are that in ourselves, in our own deepest being. Our soul, the secret indwelling psychic entity, is a portion of the divine consciousness and existence and essence. But at the same time, we speak of a divine life as the culmination of the evolutionary process. What he is basically saying is that if we are all that, then where is the question of evolution? If we are all that, then where is the question of evolution then? Why? And the use of the phrase implies that our present life is undivine. That is the contradiction we meet. And all the life too that is below us, at first glance, this looks like a self-contradiction. You say it's all divine, and yet you want to say we want to grow. That is the contradiction. So he is stating the problem straight away first, and now he is going to resolve the problem. The distinction between the divine and the divine life is in fact identical with the root distinction between life of knowledge, lived in self-awareness, and the power of light, and a life of ignorance. Life lived in knowledge and life lived in ignorance. It is that is important. The distinction between the divine and the undivine is if you are living in the knowledge or you are living in ignorance. At any rate, it is so present itself in a world that is slowly and with difficulty evolving out of the original inconscience. All imperfections, all perfections had to be taken into view in our consideration of the difference between an undivine and divine existence. To it, we could apply the Greek saying, the divine is not yet in being, but is in becoming. He is making a distinction between the divine in being and the divine in becoming. We are the divine in becoming, not the divine in being. We are the divine in being, becoming. That is the process of evolution. The true divine would then be secret within us and perhaps supreme above us. To find the divine within us and above us would be the real solution. To become perfect as that is perfect. To attain liberation by likeness to it or by attaining to the law of its nature, sadrasya, sadharmya. You have to be identical with him. Well, before I proceed, in fact, let me summarize here quickly some of these things. This is a long thing. Once in conscience and ignorance, what is it? There are two elements basically. One is a conscious assent by the soul to this manifestation. Assent by the soul to this manifestation. A-S-S-E-N-T. Assent, not assent. Assent. You have assented. You have given the consent. You have consented. You have consent. Assent. In that sense. See, what he says is basically here, the soul is there. The soul has assented to come down here. This is what we have been reading just now. What Narad was saying. No, with the soul up there, it saw something shadow, it assented. It became curious of it. It is your assent, you see. You have agreed. Well, let me see what it is. What can you do? It is there. Otherwise, you won't be here. A conscious assent by the soul to this manifestation. You have agreed to be here.
But because you didn't know what it means.
You have agreed to be here. You can't help it. You have agreed to be here. And reason in the all wisdom that make the place significant and intelligible. Why you agreed? Because you see that in the all wisdom there is something important, something significant, something intelligent. You agree to that. You believed in the all wisdom, and you have given your consent to be a part of this manifestation. You can't help it, you see. You are trapped. Okay. Now, so once in conscience and ignorance, once inconscience and ignorance are admitted, the natural result is wrong knowledge, wrong will, wrong choice, imperfection. Once you accept it, in conscience and ignorance, imperfection, that would not justify self-creation or lila. That it is God's play, it is not that. It is not that. It is your choice then. Then what is that? It would be an imposition on the unwilling creature. If you say that God is lila, play, happiness and all that thing, then imperfection would be an imposition on the person. Why then imperfection then? If it is God's play. There has to be, so it is not an imposition of imperfection in the God's play. This is a God's play, and ignorance, inconscience, imperfection is not an imposition upon you. This is what he says. Then what it is then? There has to be the assent of the embodied spirit. You have to give your consent. The spirit has to say, yes, yes, I am willing to go there. Prakriti cannot act without the assent of the Purusha. The will of the divine Purusha to make the cosmic creation possible has to be accomplished. The will of the Purusha, the Supreme wants a manifestation. If it has to be carried out, then the Prakriti needs a sanction, nature. By the assent of the individual Purusha, the individual has to give the consent. Yes, I am willing to come here. Otherwise, no. Yet, the divine will for manifestation and the assent of the soul is a mystery. He says it's a mystery. Why the soul should give assent? Why the divine will should try to manifest? That is still a mystery. This is what we have got here in this long thing. Then he says, but it is not a mystery because self-concealing and self-finding, you have hidden yourself from everything and you want to discover yourself. You have hidden yourself from everything, from yourself also, and you want to discover yourself. Self-concealing and self-finding is an exceptional joy. You hide yourself totally and you discover yourself. That is a very peculiar, very exceptional kind of a joy. Victory over difficulties is a joy which is most cherishable. Difficulty there, you have conquered it, then if there is no difficulty, there is no joy also then. You rise up to the occasion and then you say, yes, I have conquered, I am the master. That is the most cherishable joy. So the difficulty has to be there. In other words, there is an attraction in ignorance. That is the difficulty. Ignorance is there is an attraction. Difficulty is there. Attraction in ignorance. In fact, is what we are saying. You became curious of the shadow. A great adventure of the soul. That is the great adventure of the soul. Choice of the individual Purusha in the inconscience is a new affirmation of Satchitananda. New affirmation of Satchitananda. Choice of the individual You have made a choice. So it is Satchidananda himself who is kind of affirming it, you see. It is a new affirmation. Yes, here is inconscious, go and enjoy. It is an affirmation. In what is not. Affirmation in what is not. In other words, there is nothing here, you want to have something there, that is the affirmation of Satchidananda. That is the new joy of creation, basically. Satchidananda's right to manifest in its opposite, non-Satchidananda, is a possibility and it must be granted. I am Satchidananda, I must have a possibility of being non-Satchidananda. And that possibility must be granted. I am this, let me be opposite of that. That is a possibility. And that must be granted. It is for this reason that our souls accepted this joy of self-discovery in the dark, unforeseen.